Melania Trump arrived prepared to challenge Jasmine Crockett, her beliefs, her family, and her integrity. Yet Jasmine remained composed, and what followed left even the First Lady momentarily speechless. The studio lights glowed bright. Cameras rolled. The audience fell silent. Everyone sensed this wouldn't be an ordinary broadcast. Producers had brought together two women from completely different worlds, and tension was inevitable. On one side sat Melania Trump, First Lady of the United States, her poise impeccable, her presence commanding, every move refined. She looked like someone entirely comfortable in the spotlight. As the wife of President Donald Trump, she carried the quiet confidence and authority that came with her position. Across from her sat Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. If Melania's strength came from elegance and restraint, Jasmine's came from passion and resolve. Known for her sharp wit and fearless opinions, she had earned a reputation as someone who never backed down. Her focus was unshaken, her posture calm yet ready, like a fighter waiting for the bell. The setup was charged, two women, worlds apart, yet equally powerful. Both drew attention naturally. To the audience, this was more than politics. It was spectacle. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation. Viewers at home leaned in. Those in the studio sat forward, sensing the calm was only temporary. The moderator began with neutral questions. Both women responded smoothly, careful not to reveal too much. But beneath the surface, restraint was wearing thin. Jasmine's eyes narrowed slightly at Melania's polished remarks, while Melania's faint, practiced smile hinted she was preparing to strike. Every live debate follows a rhythm, energy rising gradually, but not this one. From the start, something unpredictable lingered in the air. Within the hour, the audience would witness a moment no one could forget, a moment when an attempt to humiliate would turn into self-defeat. Melania adjusted her microphone, scanning the crowd with composed assurance. Her tone was calm, measured. She seemed in full control. Jasmine listened quietly, her face unreadable but her mind alert. Two strong figures under glaring lights, every word hanging in suspense. The calm before the storm is always deceptive. And here, the storm was forming faster than anyone realized. The polite exchanges couldn't last. The tension grew denser, like pressure building in a sealed container. Then it began. Melania leaned slightly toward Jasmine, her gaze narrowing, chin lifted. The shift was subtle but unmistakable. Her first words sounded casual, yet carried an unmistakable edge. She started with a remark questioning Jasmine's political stance, something that could sound harmless if heard casually. Then she pushed further, suggesting Jasmine's credibility and principles were questionable. Melania's tone stayed smooth, but her phrasing carried sting. Comments about Jasmine's family slipped in, delivered gracefully but designed to hurt. Each sentence had two layers, polite on the surface, cutting underneath. The room grew tense. This was no longer a discussion. It was a live, personal attack. Melania wasn't seeking dialogue. She was playing strategy, trying to corner Jasmine into reacting. Each word was placed like a chess piece meant to trap her opponent. Jasmine, however, remained still. She didn't interrupt or change expression. Her silence made the moment heavier. The audience exchanged uneasy glances. Would Jasmine fight back? Would she falter? Every new remark deepened the tension. Melania leaned forward, her smile thin and sharp. The words became bolder, implying Jasmine was less credible, her family life unstable, her background unworthy of equal footing with a First Lady. The tone was dismissive, almost superior. The message was clear. I'm above you. Each second dragged longer than the last. Some gasped softly, realizing how personal it had become. Others simply froze. Jasmine, however, didn't move. Her calmness turned the silence into strategy. It was as though she was giving Melania space to step deeper into her own mistake. The air in the studio grew heavy. Melania's remarks lingered like smoke, signaling a confrontation at its peak. Cameras zoomed in. Convinced she had won, Melania adjusted her jacket and leaned back, wearing the look of victory. But what she didn't see, what no one saw, was Jasmine's patience. She was waiting. And in moments, her silence would break the room apart. Melania's final words still echoed as the audience fidgeted, some whispering in disbelief. Jasmine sat motionless, hands clasped, gaze steady, no reaction, no emotion. 5 seconds passed. 10, 15. The silence grew heavier. People expected an outburst, an emotional reaction, something dramatic. But Jasmine stayed silent. 20 seconds. 30. The camera zoomed closer, searching for any flicker of emotion. None came, just calm. The audience leaned in. Even the moderator looked uneasy. Was Jasmine frozen? Would she walk off? Then, after 41 long seconds, Jasmine finally leaned toward the microphone. Her voice was steady, composed, almost too calm for what she was about to say. Looking straight at Melania, she spoke a single line that cut through the silence like glass. The reaction was instant. Gasps swept through the room. Some people covered their mouths. Others whispered in disbelief. The air flipped from tension to shock. Melania's composure cracked. The confidence drained, her expression tightening. The calm she had carried all evening vanished. What made Jasmine's response unforgettable wasn't just her words. It was her control. The stillness, the patience, the way she held the room in silence until every eye was on her. When she finally spoke, she didn't just answer. She changed the entire tone of the night. She didn't shout, slam the table, or raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her power came from composure, from the precision of her words and the weight behind them. It was a masterclass in restraint. Her response wasn't just a retort. It was a direct blow aimed at the core of Melania's carefully built public image. Jasmine had taken an attempt to humiliate her, and turned it into a defining moment that shifted the entire room's energy. The audience fell silent. No clapping, no cheering, just quiet disbelief. It was one of those moments when time seemed to slow. Jasmine leaned back, calm and unreadable. She had said all that was necessary. The silence that followed spoke louder than any applause could. Melania shifted in her seat, visibly uneasy. For the first time that evening, her confidence wavered. She had entered the stage expecting control and dominance, but within seconds, Jasmine had turned the tables. The crowd realized they had just witnessed something rare, a moment that transcended politics and pride. Jasmine Crockett had transformed it into an unmistakable display of power. As the cameras lingered, the contrast was striking. Melania appeared smaller, her usual poise slipping. Jasmine remained steady and serene, as if she had anticipated the entire exchange. That one line had altered everything. The balance of power had shifted. The First Lady was silenced, not through aggression, but through the quiet confidence of a woman unwilling to be demeaned. For viewers at home, it was a lesson in restraint, in timing, the art of saying less but meaning more. 41 seconds of silence, one sentence, and the entire room had changed. The silence hung thick after Jasmine's words. Baron is not your son, and everyone knows who his mother is. The crowd froze. Shock, disbelief, curiosity etched across every face. Melania Trump, who began the night poised and polished, now faltered. Her mask cracked. Her hands fidgeted. But she wasn't ready to yield. Straightening her posture, she adjusted the mic and forced a smile. Her tone was gentle, but the tremor beneath it betrayed her. She denied Jasmine's statement quickly, laughing it off as absurd. A nervous chuckle here, a dismissive gesture there. But the audience wasn't convinced. Every word she spoke seemed to weaken her further. Her earlier authority was gone, replaced by visible strain. She tried to steer the topic elsewhere, but the sting of Jasmine's words lingered. Her attempts to recover felt forced, her composure slipping further with each sentence. Meanwhile, Jasmine sat silently, calm, composed, unbothered. She didn't need to interrupt. Her stillness said everything. On one side, a First Lady scrambling to regain footing. On the other, a Congresswoman who had already won. Then Jasmine spoke again, her voice steady, deliberate. She didn't revisit the personal attack. Instead, she elevated the discussion. Turning away from Melania and toward the cameras, she spoke not to her opponent, but to the nation. Her message shifted the mood entirely. She talked about unity, truth, and integrity, about leadership grounded in accountability and respect. The audience, still recovering from the confrontation, leaned forward listening. Jasmine wasn't just defending herself anymore. She was speaking for something bigger, for the values that bind a nation. Melania tried to interrupt once or twice, but the energy had shifted beyond her reach. Every gaze was fixed on Jasmine, every ear on her voice. By the end, it was clear. Jasmine had not only won the exchange, she had earned the room's respect and captured the audience at home. Melania had entered intending to dominate, but she now sat silent, her earlier confidence shattered. Jasmine didn't just withstand the attack, she transcended it, proving that strength lies not in status or title but in composure, clarity, and courage. The moderator attempted to steer the discussion back to neutral ground, but the moment had already taken root. The stage was no longer Melania's, it belonged to Jasmine. What people would remember wasn't the insult or denial, but the quiet strength of a woman who turned humiliation into a message of integrity. Her message was simple. Real power isn't in tearing others down, but in standing tall and elevating truth above noise. The lights dimmed slightly, but the tension remained electric. What started as a clash between two public figures had evolved into something greater. Melania Trump sat subdued, her earlier composure fractured. Across from her, Jasmine Crockett sat calm and victorious. Everyone in that room could feel it, the shift in balance. The audience sat frozen, processing what they had just witnessed, a deliberate, precise dismantling of an attack. Jasmine hadn't reacted with anger. She had responded with control. Her silence and timing turned discomfort into dominance. Melania's attempts to dismiss or redirect fell flat. Her control had slipped, her image fractured before the audience's eyes. Jasmine, however, didn't rush to fill the silence. She let the weight of the moment settle, allowing reflection to replace tension. Finally, Jasmine leaned toward her microphone again, her voice clear, calm, and grounded. "This moment isn't about me or the First Lady," she began. "It's about the kind of country we want to be." Her words cut through the stillness, lifting the discussion beyond personal conflict. She spoke of truth, respect, and leadership that uplifts rather than diminishes. Her message became universal, a call to the people watching. You deserve leaders who don't hide behind titles, who respect you enough to tell the truth, even when it's hard. That's integrity. That's unity. That's what America deserves. Melania tried to speak again, but the crowd's silence swallowed her words. The power dynamic had shifted entirely. The First Lady, once confident, now sat overshadowed. Her silence carried more weight than her words ever could. Jasmine didn't gloat. She didn't dwell on victory. Instead, she expanded the focus. She reminded everyone that politics is not about rivalry but values. About truth, accountability, and respect. Her message was concise but powerful. A nation's strength lies not in division, but in its unity and integrity. That night, Jasmine transformed what could have been a personal feud into a defining moment. Melania had arrived ready to attack, but Jasmine's poise turned the confrontation into a statement of principle. Under the studio lights, with cameras rolling and the audience silent, two contrasting figures sat before the nation, one shaken, one serene. And in that moment, everyone watching understood. True power doesn't shout. It stands steady, speaks truth, and commands respect without demanding it. Her body language was calm yet alert, like a boxer resting in the corner, waiting for the bell. The setup felt charged. Two women from entirely different worlds sat on the same stage. Both held influence, both commanded attention. For the audience, this wasn't just a political discussion. It was a performance. The tension was visible, almost tangible. Viewers at home leaned forward, and those in the studio shifted in their seats, sensing that the polite smiles were simply a mask for what was coming. The moderator began with basic questions. Both women responded gracefully, each trying to connect with the audience while keeping their strategies hidden. But beneath the surface, the calmness was thin. You could see it in Jasmine's eyes narrowing slightly at Melania's smooth remarks, and in Melania's small, practiced smile whenever Jasmine spoke. Both were waiting for the right moment to make their move. Every live broadcast has its rhythm. Sometimes energy builds slowly, but this one was different. From the start, it carried a sense that something unexpected was approaching. The audience didn't realize it yet, but within an hour, they would witness a moment that would leave them speechless. When one woman tried to embarrass the other, only to end up silenced instead. Melania Trump adjusted her microphone, her eyes scanning the room. She spoke in her usual composed tone, giving the impression of control. Jasmine Crockett listened quietly, her expression neutral but her mind active. The scene felt cinematic. Two strong figures on stage, lights shining, an audience hanging on every word. The calm before the storm can be deceptive, creating a false sense of peace. But tension was already building, faster than anyone realized. The early exchanges between Melania and Jasmine remained civil. Yet everyone watching knew it couldn't last. The air was heavy with anticipation, pressure building like a shaken can of soda. Then it happened. Melania, sitting upright, turned slightly toward Jasmine. Her eyes narrowed, her chin lifted. The shift was small but unmistakable. It was the moment she decided to go on the offensive. Her words came out steady and polite at first, but the edge beneath them was clear. She began with a mild comment, questioning Jasmine's political integrity, the kind of remark that might sound harmless if you weren't paying attention. Then she pushed further, implying doubt about Jasmine's credibility and whether she truly followed the values she claimed. Melania's comments became more personal. She mentioned Jasmine's family, using words chosen to sting, but delivered with a calm, almost refined tone. Each phrase carried two meanings: polite conversation on the surface, subtle attack underneath. The audience sensed the change. This was no longer a discussion. It was a personal confrontation, broadcast live. Melania's tone stayed even, but her goal was obvious: to unsettle Jasmine, to make her appear weak. Each sentence felt strategic, like a chess move intended to trap her opponent. Jasmine stayed composed, silent, giving no reaction. That stillness only heightened the tension. The audience watched, uncertain what would come next. Would Jasmine retaliate? Would she falter? Melania leaned slightly forward, her smile faint but sharp. She wasn't simply making an observation anymore. She was delivering calculated insults, suggesting Jasmine was less credible than she appeared. She hinted that Jasmine's personal life was complicated, that her background made her unworthy to stand beside a former First Lady. Her tone was dismissive, as if brushing off someone insignificant. The message was clear: I am above you. The room grew uneasy. Some viewers gasped quietly as the attack turned personal, while others sat frozen, waiting for Jasmine's reply. Yet Jasmine didn't move. Her composure made the moment heavier, as if she were giving Melania more rope to continue. The studio air thickened. Melania's words lingered like smoke, signaling that the confrontation had reached its height. The cameras zoomed in. Melania, confident she had won, straightened her jacket and leaned back, sure of victory. But what she didn't know, what no one yet realized, was that Jasmine was simply waiting for her turn. In less than a minute, the silence she maintained would change everything. Melania's remarks still hung in the air, the audience whispering in disbelief at how personal things had become. Jasmine remained perfectly still, hands folded, eyes forward, face calm. No smile, no frown, only quiet control. The clock ticked. 5 seconds, 10, 15. The silence stretched on. People expected an immediate reaction. Anger, shouting, something loud. But Jasmine didn't give that satisfaction. She waited. 20 seconds. 30 seconds. The camera now focused closely on her expression, searching for any sign of emotion. There was none. The room was silent. Even the moderator appeared uneasy. Was Jasmine frozen? Thinking? No one knew. And then, after 41 long seconds, Jasmine finally leaned toward her microphone. Her voice was calm, measured, and deliberate. Looking directly at Melania, she spoke one line that cut through the silence. Baron is not your son, and everyone knows who his mother is. The response was immediate. Gasps filled the studio. Some covered their mouths. Others whispered in shock. The entire atmosphere changed instantly. Melania's face said it all. The confidence from moments earlier vanished. Her eyes shifted, her lips tightened, and her practiced calm disappeared completely. What made Jasmine's reply so powerful wasn't just the content, but the way she delivered it, the patience, the silence, the control. She didn't shout or raise her voice. She didn't need to. The strength came from restraint, from precision, from perfect timing. It was a lesson in composure. The statement was more than a rebuttal. It struck directly at the image Melania had carefully built. Jasmine had turned the moment around entirely, taking the insult meant to diminish her and turning it into a defining moment of control and clarity.